What's up everyone, Fornitron here, and today we're diving into a detailed review of GSE Game World's long-awaited sequel to their cult classic in S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, Heart of Chernobyl, for base game reviews. With a mix of survival horror, immersive FPS gameplay, and a world dripping with atmosphere, is this the best survival horror game since the original? Let's find out. How I played. I played S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 via Xbox Game Pass for PC on my R7 7800X3D RTX 3080 gaming PC. I was able to play at 1440p on high settings and mostly hitting above 70 FPS. Story, 14 out of 20. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2's intro does a solid job of setting the stage for the game's narrative, introducing us to Skiff, a stalker, tasked with a mission alongside a scientist scanning for artifacts within the mysterious zone. As a newcomer to the series, I find the story fresh and intriguing, though the tutorial aspect could have been a tad more comprehensive to ease players into the controls. Nonetheless, it effectively sets up the world and the central conflict, giving a taste of what's to come in this unforgiving environment. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2's cutscenes are kind of dated. A lot of the cutscenes are just dialogue moments with different NPCs, some are pre-rendered and sprinkled throughout the campaign, mostly at the beginning and end of the game. The dialogue sometimes veers into the territory of being a bit corny, potentially due to some translation from Ukrainian to English. I bet the native Ukrainian sounds a lot better than the English performances. I would compare these cutscenes to the quality of like a Call of Duty game from like 2017. But with some of the NPC jankiness of a Bethesda game. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2's world is discovered through interactions with NPCs and general exploration. As you navigate the zone, conversations with other stalkers, merchants, and various characters in safe zones or camps reveal layers of lore and detail about its environment. The world building is further enhanced by side quests, where you can delve deeper into the game's universe, gaining currency or enhanced items. Again, never had played the first game, I did feel like I was missing out on some information during my playthrough. The narrative of S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 was thought-provoking, leaving me with lingering contemplation post-campaign. Despite some clunky dialogue, likely stemming from the translation issues I mentioned earlier, the essence of what GSE Game World was trying to convey was clear to me. The story, while not revolutionary, was sufficiently engaging and serviceable. I could see what the devs were going for with the story, and that translated beyond some of the hilariously bad dialogue. Graphics, 10 out of 15. The character models in S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 range from decent to just bad. I kept thinking that this game made me feel like I was playing an old Call of Duty game from like the PS3 era. But I think the models are decent enough not to impede gameplay. They're adequate and fit the function of the overall game. But don't go into S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 expecting any eye candy. There are some genuine moments in S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 where I felt like, wow, this is actually a gorgeous landscape. But a lot of the zone is very bland, which makes sense as it all fits in the same biome. I know that a lot of landscapes and areas are meant to mimic real-life locations, but some people were touting S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 as having some of the best graphics of this generation, but I did not see that personally. The special effects were nothing amazing or memorable. Being built in Unreal Engine 5, I could see some of the typical UE5 tropes. I've said this repeatedly, as I think this comparison is accurate, but I think S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 looks and feels like a Call of Duty game of years past. Nothing wrong with this, but it's not super noteworthy. Audio, 9 out of 15. The ambience is incredible in S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. I constantly feel the bleakness of the zone and the incoming dread of possible death. The subtle tones and atmosphere really help to amplify the feeling of survival in the game. Boss music. There basically is none. It's just very basic, intense tones. I understand this is a small studio, but I find it a big letdown that games opt out of having epic boss tracks. The sound mixes dialogue and ominous tones with the mix of steps walking nearby in the bushes. I felt the sound design was decent, but what brought it down for me was the voice acting. Again, this is a small studio and I bet the native language voice acting is far superior, but the English voice acting was laughably bad at points. At times, it even completely destroys the mood the game is trying to portray. Performance, 6 out of 10. I was able to get the game running at above 60 FPS, but for the graphic fidelity of this game, I should easily be in the 100 plus FPS range. Black Ops 6 is a much better looking game and it runs far superior to STALKER 2. There have been multiple patches to the game to improve performance, and I played after the first major patch, but I still think UE5 optimization is a struggle for most studios. STALKER 2 is rough around the edges. There is a lot of jank in this game. And I know the first game was known for its jankiness as well, but I'm tired of this excuse of like lovable quirks with game releases. We should not be praising games that release with so many bugs and cosmetic glitches. Throughout my playthrough, I had multiple crashes, I had lots of NPC bugs, and many odd animation quirks. I also had a weird glitch where my character would just randomly pick up weapons without my prompting to. Also, on the most recent update, I find the game now crashes or hangs during the shader compilation step. Gameplay, 26 out of 40. The controls felt good, pretty standard FPS controls. I did find some things confusing, like switching my lamp on and off. I felt like there could have been a button layout image in the game menu or something to help players understand the controls a bit better. This game is brutal. It is a true survival game and you will be punished. I did feel some of the game's mechanics might be a bit much for the average player, but I felt like they went for their niche audience, which I can totally respect. I felt like the weight limit could have been a bit more generous, but I'm admittedly terrible at these types of games, so I was always running overloaded. I was really upset that I did not know until almost the end of the game how fast travel worked. Each camp has a tracker, and I thought they were just for directions, or maybe they would just put like a plot point on your map. But this NPC is who you talk to for fast travel between different camps in the game. Could have saved me tons of manual walking hours. The pacing is terrible, but this could have been my fault. But this game is guilty of forcing the player to walk from one side of the map to the other for fetch quests or any natural story missions. And to keep adequate ammo to handle the random mutant encounters or stalker invasions, I always felt like I was overburdened. Because the fast travel mechanic was not obvious to me, I would find myself doing the long walk between areas and purposely going the outside routes to limit my encounters so I didn't break any of my equipment. This was not enjoyable, and I found it very tedious having to slow walk from camp to camp because I refused to drop my ammo cache. I know this is realistic, but realism versus enjoyable gameplay, I will always choose enjoyable gameplay. I thought the UI was pretty good, pretty standard for an FPS game, and it was minimal on screen. My personal small gripe is there was no way to completely disable the HUD in the options. I like being able to disable the in-game HUD so I can capture some scenic shots, but I wasn't able to do that. Navigating the items was pretty straightforward. I think there could be some quality of life improvements made in the future for moving/sorting inventory. Correction, I found you can completely disable the HUD in settings. Boss quality. There weren't any standard bosses, but some of the mutant encounters felt like boss battles to me. And I know this game is supposed to be punishing, but going up against a pseudo giant that has like 1,000,000 HP and all it does is just empty your entire ammo cache is not fun or engaging for me. Most of the mutant encounters, I would just run away from them as they never dropped anything of use and just expelled all my resources. This is the weakest area of the game personally. Enemy variety. It makes sense in the game, but it does start to feel fatiguing to be constantly taking on the same enemy mobs. Either the human stalker mobs or the armored up soldiers. Every now and then they would throw in a Psy mutant or some rats in a different area, but it was never enough to feel like true variety to me. Gameplay variety. There is some variety in gameplay, but its most important thing is to survive. If you get tired of doing the main campaign, you can hang out in a camp and do small side missions for some extra money. Or you can look up the map and then find weapon caches to go loot. Each weapon has a lot of upgrade potential, and you can upgrade your armor sets with vendors. There's also searching for relics, and they add different buffs to your character. Replayability. Unless you enjoy this type of survival gameplay, I do not see any reason to play Stalker 2 ever again. After a first playthrough, you may be able to do a second run more proficiently, but I think with the long treks across the map and even with the tracker fast travel, I can't see myself ever wanting to play through this game again. Once was enough for me. Bonus, 1 out of 4. There are colorblind options in Stalker 2. There is some controller customization, but not complete customization, so it only gets a single point. Overall, 66 out of 100. Fair. Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl is a brutal, absolutely no fucks given punishing game. This is a game for those who love FPS survival games like Tarkov or Rust, which is a genre I am completely foreign to. I don't understand the copium people have been spreading about this game's graphics being best in class, but I do feel like this is a very competent game, and I think the gaming niche this is aimed at will love everything Stalker 2 has to offer. The gameplay is definitely the strength of Stalker 2, and there are moments where the graphics shine, but I did feel overall the game feels like a mid-2010s Call of Duty title. If you love the FPS genre and have been looking for a challenging survival game, definitely pick up Stalker 2 or just subscribe to Xbox Game Pass for a month and play it there, as I think this game is a great experience even if it's just for the single playthrough.